I have never seen such a speechless father before. He actually angrily scolded his son as a lower-class person. He could never become a wealthy person in his whole life. That's how my father taught me. I am sorry. I can only teach you like this. This is typical poor people's thinking. If you grow up in this kind of educational environment, no one can succeed. But father doesn't care about these things. When the son just turned 15, he let him drop out of school and work. This is Steven's first job, delivering ice to the factory. Besides being tired, he also had to endure the factory owner's son's bullying from time to time. One day, he accidentally found a newspaper on the ground. From then on, it completely changed his destiny. It tells the story of a billionaire who started from scratch. He dropped out of school 3 years earlier than Steven. His first job was delivering telegrams to people. During that time, he endured the contempt of many wealthy second-generation individuals. But he always persisted in his own dream. Never chose to give up. Finally became a billionaire. Such similar destinies made Steven determined to be like him, and swore to heaven in those snobbish eyes that looked down on him, will eventually become a billionaire one day. However, his father dealt him a heavy blow. Remember this, kid. You won't have money. You'll only become a certain kind of person. That is, a lower-class person. Steven remained silent for a long time. Almost had his life ruined by his father's ignorance. Seeing his mother lying in bed because she couldn't afford medical treatment, he left home without hesitation. Thus began his adventurous journey. Because he was penniless, he could only sneak onto a train that had just departed. Waking up from a nap, Steven arrived in a completely unfamiliar city, not knowing where to settle. Followed a few cowboys for several miles. Fortunately, they went to the labor market, and they happened to come across a farmer who was hiring. Steven stuck his head out and squeezed forward. Then he enthusiastically promoted himself. Afraid that the farmer would think he was too small and weak, Steven quickly picked up a strong man next to him. This made everyone burst into laughter. Seeing him so proactive, the farmer immediately decided to hire him. The first time doing pile driving work, Steven seemed a bit overwhelmed. At this moment, a boy about the same age as him walked over and taught him how to do it. During the chat, they found out. It turned out that both of them harbored great ideals. Neither of them was willing to settle for mediocrity. However, Steven didn't know at that time that one day in the future, this boy actually saved his life. After a busy day of work, the colleagues gathered around and started playing poker. Only Steven did not participate. He felt that if he continued like this, even if he worked for 10 lifetimes, he couldn't become a billionaire. So he immediately got up and found the farm owner. Asked him, "How can I become a wealthy person like you?" The farm owner told him, "There are many factors for success. But first, you have to become a leader." As if a light bulb went off in his head, Steven said, "If the work is completed ahead of time, will it save costs?" After receiving a positive response, Steven then asked, "Can he have a share of the saved money?" "I admire you. But you can't do it. Give it a try." The sky was just getting light. The sleeping workers were called by the steward to start working. But Steven's figure was nowhere to be seen. They thought he couldn't handle the hardship and sneaked away. Who knew that when they arrived at the farm and looked, Steven had already finished more than 100 steaks. From dawn until now, he didn't even close his eyes for a moment. He even came up with a good method to improve efficiency. 3 people per group. Measure what needs to be measured. Dig the holes that need to be dug. One person places the wooden stakes, the other is responsible for installation. Just like a factory assembly line. Efficiency is indeed fast using this method. It's not dark yet. They finished all the work. And Steven naturally received extra compensation. A whole $30. He kept $10 for himself. He sent the rest back to his mother. Just at that moment, a man in a designer suit walked in. Especially his flashy gold belt caught the eye. Steven immediately felt envious when he saw it, knowing his intentions very well. But the man still openly said, "Money is everywhere here. It depends on how deep you look." Smart Steven immediately realized he must be referring to oil. But when faced with Steven's questioning, the man just smiled and didn't answer. This made him even more certain of his guess. On the way back, Steven's mind was filled with oil. Suddenly, a girl interrupted his thoughts. Just one glance. They fell in love at first sight. Steven suddenly became nervous and couldn't speak. They say love is blind. As expected, the girl not only didn't dislike his old-fashioned style, but instead found him very cute. She even invited him to a dance party, although he dressed up carefully. But it couldn't hide Steven's rustic appearance. Fortunately, the girl Hannah didn't mind. She even invited him to dance together. For Steven, who came from a humble background, this was a joy he had never experienced before. He didn't want to miss this excellent opportunity. So he bravely said, "I want to marry you." Hannah burst into laughter instantly. This was only their second meeting. Moreover, such directness is simply overwhelming. Hannah did not make a statement on the spot. However, from this day on, Stephen would come to pick her up from school every day. A wealthy second generation who liked Hannah couldn't sit still. He immediately started arguing with Stephen, saying that he was just a poor boy. He was not worthy of Hannah at all. Stephen immediately retorted, "One day, this country bumpkin of mine will also become a billionaire." The wealthy second generation had a disdainful expression on his face. Seeing him so arrogant and rude, Hannah also signaled him to leave quickly. At the same time, she also told Stephen, "Money is not everything. There are many things that money can't buy. Just like knowledge, it requires continuous exploration." However, Stephen didn't think so. For this reason, he deliberately showed off in front of the principal and Hannah. "Give me a number. Multiply it by another number with more than 5 digits. 3,457,419. 3,457,419. After Hannah verified it, she couldn't help but marvel at his mental calculation speed. Besides that, Stephen also has great talent in the field of chemistry. Even Hannah feels inferior to him. But even so, Hannah still hopes that he can come to school as an auditor. Otherwise, what's the difference between growing up and becoming a loser like those arrogant rich kids? What's the difference then from those arrogant and rude rich second generations? Although Stephen disagrees with her opinion, but he still came to school the next day. Hannah was very happy. Their relationship quickly heated up. They soon became a couple. However, the good times didn't last long. Suddenly, news came from the battlefield. Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. Although Stephen's dream is to become a billionaire. But now, the country is in crisis. He first lied about his age to the army. And then, without hesitation, chose to go to the battlefield. Hannah had a hard time accepting it for a while. They immediately had a big argument. Stephen felt that she didn't understand him. He left angrily immediately. But at the moment when Hannah turned around, he ran back frantically. The two of them embraced tightly. They spoke to each other about the promises they made. "Hannah, I love you. I will wait for you." However, for a 15-year-old boy, the battlefield was as terrifying as hell. The commander ordered a new recruit to deliver a letter to the front line. But he was scared to death. His legs were so scared that they couldn't move. Seeing an opportunity to prove himself, Stephen immediately took the letter. However, he was slightly careless. He narrowly escaped death from a bomb. Fortunately, a soldier saved him. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be the boy he used to pile drive with. In the end, the two of them completed the mission together. As time passed, Stephen suddenly became a middle-aged man. After he retired, he used all his savings to buy a drilling machine. Although his dreams were lofty, but the reality is harsh. Unable to strike oil for a long time, putting Stephen's family under unbearable pressure. They can barely make ends meet. But the 4 children can't bear it. Every day requires a large amount of expenses. Not only that, Stephen also has very little time to spend with his family. Until now, he hasn't even played a game with his son. Faced with Hannah's accusations, Stephen came to his son. He immediately hired an expert in the field of oil. Under the expert survey, the drilling location was quickly determined. After several days of hard work, Stephen finally struck oil. A total of 50 million barrels. If calculated at the current scale, 500 barrels can be extracted per day. The profit can reach $1,000. Although still one step away from being a billionaire. But compared to yesterday, it's already reaching its peak. Seeing Stephen making a fortune, the original owner of the farm also wants a share of the pie. He even sued him in court, claiming that Stephen cheated him out of his mining rights. Adhering to the principle of finding professionals for professional matters, Stephen found a black lawyer named Hamilton. Hamilton did not disappoint Stephen's expectations. It only took a few short sentences. It made the other party back down. The contract was signed 2 years and 2 months ago. But the law here stipulates that the maximum duration for mining rights disputes is 2 years. Seeing Hamilton's abilities are so strong, Stephen hired him as his full-time lawyer. Over time, they also became close friends to each other. Slowly, Stephen's business grew bigger and bigger. His ambition was even bigger than his business. He wanted to acquire all the surrounding farms and then extract oil. In order to fulfill his dream, succeeded in becoming a billionaire. But unexpectedly, he encountered difficulties this time. The other party was reluctant to sign the contract. Stephen and I were forced to wait in the hotel until Christmas Eve. Still haven't received a response from the other party. Hamilton advised him not to wait any longer. Take advantage of the arrival of Christmas. Hurry back to spend time with family. Stephen completely ignored it. Insisted on staying here. In the end, Hamilton could only leave alone. The next morning, as a result, the other party actually personally delivered the signed contract to the door. He just wanted to see how determined Stephen was. Now successful and famous, he also became a billionaire as he had wished. But Stephen couldn't be happy no matter what. He didn't even have someone to share with by his side. He couldn't help but sigh. It turns out that no matter how much money you make, it's just a string of numbers. Just as he was immersed in the past, suddenly he heard some terrible news. Hamilton had an unfortunate accident on his way home. Now his internal organs are severely damaged. Both kidneys have completely ruptured. Based on the above two situations, Hamilton is afraid he won't last until a suitable kidney becomes available. In order to save his dear friend's life, Stephen resolutely took one off and gave it to him. If it were many years ago, Stephen might not have done this. Now he understands the meaning of life. He wants his children to understand this too. After being discharged from the hospital, Stephen called them over and announced that he would transfer all his assets to a new fund to help those in need. At the same time, Stephen gave each of the children $10,000 and let them decide what to do with it. This was clearly a test. But when they received this large sum of money, they were all thinking about how to spend it. Not a single person intended to help others. Just as the couple felt heartbroken, their youngest son came back and asked his father to put the money into the fund to help those who truly needed it. Stephen felt extremely relieved and hugged him tightly with excitement. Eventually, the management of the fund was entrusted to him with confidence. The movie Super Life ends here. Thinking back to the beginning, Stephen's father's education was clearly wrong. Actually, around us, there are also many parents like that. It's just that we are content with the status quo. We never dare to resist. When chasing dreams, everyone will lose themselves. Just like Stephen. Extreme lack of care for family and children. This also leads to them becoming true playboys. Apart from asking for money, they don't have any other skills. Until Hamilton had an accident. This made Stephen understand the true meaning of life. At the end of the movie, Stephen's youngest son handed over the management of the fund to his own son again. That is, Stephen's grandson. Seeing the diary left by his grandfather, he finally understood. The meaning of life is not actually about how much money you earn, but about not forgetting your original intention. Never lose yourself. Alright, today's story ends here. Everyone is welcome to comment, like and retweet. I am Shaw Yu. Looking forward to our next encounter with you.